welcome back to Flowers in the Autumn. How you doing? The last time we were together, we actually kind of had to bounce mid-episode because things were starting to run a little long. We were starting down the yellow path, I guess you would call it. It is the path that you take that just gives you all of the yellow illuminations on the Yuri meter. Whereas the true route, the true end always comes from green answers. But we were going down the yellow route, and there are just way more scenes than I thought that there were gonna be. And I had already been recording like 2 hours. That felt a little long for what I do with this series. So we're kind of gonna split this down the middle and hopefully come to a conclusion on this side of things. But we were picking up some scenes that kind of gave us a little bit of a perspective on how things were going elsewhere whilst Yuzuriha was doing her thing. But the most interesting parts, I think, so far have been the inner monologues that are now being sprinkled into the end of each chapter from Ringo. We're finally getting a lot of her perspective, and as somebody who really enjoys her as a character, it's just been really nice to kind of get that insight. So I'm hoping for a lot more of that as we go forward. So with that said, we are going to bounce right back into things. So we now join your regularly scheduled Flowers read-through in progress. I gaze out at the crisp autumn sky. Before me lies an abundant autumn harvest. I'm not big on sweet potatoes. Just there's something about them that just does not land for me. Like that poem, Green Leaves and Eyes, they might not be as lush as summer, but autumn vegetables are still verdant to the point that they seem to lavish their ripening life upon their surroundings. Oh, big on hash browns, let's go. I remember one time when my little brother got obsessed with them. The store-bought frozen ones, though. Hash browns shouldn't be that difficult to make. Peel, chop, and mash the potatoes, then stir in something to make the mixture stick, and then fry them up in oil. I reckon that should be all there is to... Oh no! Alright, who we big scaring? Who we big scaring right now? I sneeze. Have I caught Nettie's cold? And I hear a cute, startled sound behind me. I spin around. Ah, you're there. Hey, you. Ringo Sasaki-kun is standing there awkwardly. Oh, you're okay.
Ringo-kun じゃないか。どうしたんだい？お手伝いをしようと思って、料理部で収穫に来たのですよね。
I nod. She must have spotted me muttering to myself in front of the allotment crops and worked out what I was up to.
かぼちゃを少しばかり収穫しに来たのだが。
It's not a particularly big task, so it's not like I really need her help. All the same, I think, like, you know, getting a little time together after kind of what is very likely an awkward situation may kind of like smooth things over if we can communicate in a regular manner.
ハッシュドポテトも作ろうかと思っていたんだ。リンゴくんはじゃがいもを少しばかり収穫してくれないかな。
Seeing her despondent expression, I find myself saying this. We're gonna have a moment.
知っているかい？キュウリは世界で一番栄養のない野菜としてギネス認定されているのだってね。
This is Yuzuriha's special talent is random trivia when I'm feeling incredibly awkward.
そうなのですか。
I want to tell her that it really does. I'm talking to her to try to dispel the awkwardness, but getting only non-committal response in return doesn't help. Still, I push on.
今日もいい秋晴れだね。あ、そう
How
だ。
about that local sports
今日のよ
team?
うな青空に草原の絵の壁が。
She's literally just, how about that local sports teaming the girl right now? I ramble on, wowing her with my extensive knowledge of default PC wallpapers. Not even the old Windows 95 gag, huh? Not even the old Windows XP. Ringo-kun continues digging up the potatoes as I'd asked in silence. Oh.
どうしたんです？
I hadn't exactly yelled, but it's enough for Ringo-kun to sense my surprise, stop what she's doing, and come over to me.
カエルだよ。結構立派なカエルだね。
Are we gonna bond over a frog? Startled, the frog hops down into the dirt from its perch atop the pumpkin. From there, it gazes up at us curiously.
カラフルで綺麗だな。
I lean in close to regard the frog as it looks around alertly.
ダメですよ。あれはクリム童話ですから、キスをしたら病気になってしまいます。
I don't... Yeah. Seems like the Yatsushiro senpai in her head is way more out there than the real deal.
そうか。そうか。
I love that she's so quick enough to pick up on that and play with it.
ではないようだしね。ですです。
I can't help but smile at the genuine relief in her tone.
いちごくんはカエルの置物を集めるのが趣味なんだろ？
Yeah, it's a bit more than a trinket.
いちごねなら喜びそうです。
That too? Yeah. Yeah, that feels very probable.
ああ、姉妹の力関係としてありそうだな。僕も取ってきたカブトムシを弟に世話させてたことがあったよ。悪いお姉ちゃんですね。いい姉は弟を尻に敷くものさ。
Ringo-kun laughs along with me.
週末のもみじ狩り、楽しみだね。はい、いちごねも張り切っていました。栗や銀杏、キノコを取れるといいなって。もみじはあまり関係ないんだね。私としてもまだまだ食い気なのです。
That reminds me of the phrase, fonder of food than boys, which douses a little cold water on my mood.
僕ももみじよりはそれかな。それよりお弁当を作るので精一杯だしね。
I pretend not to be affected.
いちごねは八代先輩の好物、肉じゃがをプレゼントするつもりですよ。
Aww.
お弁当に肉じゃがか。汁でえらいことになりそうだな。
Indeed, indeed, she nods with a smile, and I smile back. A breeze brushes my cheeks. When I look up at the sky, I feel my spirits lift a little.
よかったです。
Whose spirits would not be relieved even a little in the presence of one adorable little Ringo?
何が？ずっと怖い顔をしてたですから。
Aww.
今の八代先輩は楽しそうです。
Again, just real good at seeing you.
ありがとう。
I thank her, but at the same time,
どうして私なんかを好きになったのだ。
I think it's pretty easy to see. I ask myself as I gaze up at the sky.
持ってきますね。
As her footsteps fade into the distance, a thought has crossed my mind several times before returns to me. It's a cliche, but
人は平等じゃない。
you know, they say all men are created equal, but you look at me and you look at Samoa Joe and you can tell that statement is not true. I won't do the whole thing, I'll spare everybody, but I think Steiner math is stupid and funny and I don't even watch wrestling. If I were someone else, If I'd been born male, I doubt I'd have a single qualm about falling in love with Nettie or about telling her. And I probably wouldn't be agonizing this much over it if I hadn't received Ringo-kun's confession. In the sky, I see the face of my cowardly lion, always there to save me whenever I'm in trouble. She calls out to me clearly, but I'm too chicken to look her in the face. I feel like all the alternate scenes are in this specific route. The word momentary comes from the term momentum. Yeah, it does actually. Okay. Oh, all right. We're back in Ringo land. Hold on. I don't regret my confession. If I hadn't conveyed my feelings to Yuzuriha Yatsushiro-senpai the day of at the chapel, they probably wouldn't have lasted. And yet, my heart aches. I thought I'd feel better after telling her, but instead of feeling lighter, my insides had churned and I'd felt a pain in my chest. She'd asked me to wait a bit longer for her answer. I felt a sense of relief upon hearing that, but at the same time, I have a desperate urge to know her answer as soon as possible. The sensation that I am not myself, putting on an act so that no one suspects anything. I'd heard from my sister that Yatsushiro-senpai seemed down in the dumps. She'd asked me for advice and I hadn't had an answer for her. I couldn't possibly reveal to my sister that I was the cause of Yatsushiro-senpai's angst. How could I tell her that I coveted the same woman? She'd said with a bright smile. When I saw that smile on her face, my insides knotted even tighter. I felt like my chest was being squeezed. And then I saw her at the aforementioned cooking club. Just like my sister had suggested, Yatsushiro-senpai exuded an air of emptiness, though she tried to hide it. It seemed like she was struggling with a great sense of loneliness, a loneliness known only to those who have tasted a particular sort of pain. We understand it, as no doubt does Suo-chan. I can tell from the compassion displayed in her words and manner. Perhaps fearful of my gaze as I stared intently at her, she whipped her face away like a hand snapped back from a flame. I'd expected it. I understand that she feels awkward, but even so, her behavior squeezed at my heart with a merciless strength. It was so overwhelming that I didn't even notice my sister's suggestion that we go leaf viewing. As she looked to me to back her up, I was finally able to regain control of my emotions. When the week drew to a close, we set out for our fall leaf viewing on the Sabbath. I'd been feeling depressed, but as I walked through the forest beneath the clear autumn sky, I gradually started to feel better. The scent of the autumn breeze on my nose, the colorful leaves before my eyes, the sound of easygoing laughter to my ears. As I chatted with my sister and friends, it came home to me that we were well and truly into autumn. Then, perhaps thanks to my improved mood, I was able to cheerfully broach a conversation with Yatsushiro-senpai. However, things are never that simple. After arriving at our destination, my sister proposed a chestnut collecting competition. We would draw lots to form pairs. By a stroke of good fortune, I was paired with Yatsushiro-senpai. That was the simple part, but as evening drew in, she'd called to me that we should be heading back. Responding to her summons, I'd rushed forward, forgetting that I was on a steep slope and the worst had happened. She'd bragged, patting her sprained ankle. My heart had been shattered into pieces, and I knew I had to do something. Telling Yatsushiro-senpai that I would go get help, I ran off back to the others. I'm not very fit, but I ran like my life depended on it. My heart was pounding like a drum so I could hear the blood pulsing behind my ears. Just when my throat was starting to feel painfully raw from the ragged breathing, I ran into Kamikado-senpai, a little short of the place where everyone had gathered. When I told her what had happened, she informed me without hesitation that she would go and search herself. Then, instructing me to let the others know what was going on, she set off running. Having stopped once, I began to feel exhaustion settle heavily onto my shoulders, but I managed to drag my leaden feet onward to rejoin the group. Then, my sister, my friends, and everyone rushed off the way that I had came. Things are never that simple. The fleeting happiness I'd felt dissipated as cruel reality reared its head. In the darkness, I heard the sound of feet crunching on dry leaves. Why? Why isn't it me over there? Nerine appeared, carrying Yuzuriha on her back. When I saw them so close to one another, it wasn't jealousy I felt. It was sadness and resignation that filled my heart when I glimpsed the expression on Yuzuriha's face. Her look was one of longing and of profound relief, like a child cozying up to their mother. Oh. There's a whole lot going into that, Ringo. There's a whole lot. I shut my eyes, trying to erase the image of the two of them and their happiness, but the image remained. Like the trails of light drawn to the darkness by fireflies, which sear themselves to your eyelids even after they've faded to nothing. Poor girl. Ugh. Feel so bad for her. No clothes. All right. I've sprung a fever for being around two hotties. They're both looking at me with concern. Yeah! Lay it in! Lay it in! All right. Let's go. Let's go, Miss Tomato. Let's see it. I respond with my usual banter. Oh. We're not gonna tomato? What? What? That is totally not the response I would have expected. Seems like they've taken it as a joke, although I did genuinely mean it. Asked again whether I'm really all right, I respond that I do seem to be coming down with a cold. And we'll answer honestly. I preface my explanation by telling her that it's another one of the school's annual events. When I ask her if she's never heard about it before, she shakes her head. You know, there's a lot said by voice actors about having to do really demanding roles where they have to scream a lot and they're just yelling and you know, a lot of battle stuff like in shonen anime and stuff. And I'm just like, I bet it takes an equal amount of technique and stamina and endurance to be able to pull off a role like Suo, who is at all times barely speaking above a whisper. I feel like that's got to be really hard to control. In my mind's eye, I see Sister Basquiat's happy-go-lucky smile. Suo-kun considers this information carefully for a moment before raising her head like something's just occurred to her.
先ほどリカさんが合唱会までには風邪を治しておいてと言ったのは合唱部も別枠として参加するのですか?
My perceptive underclassman asks me. She's drawn out the subtext of what I was saying, and I hold up my hands and joke that she's got me.
最後の鳥を合唱部が
Okay. Alright, you gonna join me? You gonna join me? I've heard of folk remedies that say getting in a bath and raising your body temperature can boost your immune system and help fight off a cold. Bet Erica's like, bet she could warm up a bath really nicely. Strikes me as one of those extremely, like, body heat kind of people. You ever like share a bed with somebody whose body heat is like a literal furnace? They're not running a fever or anything, it's just their body heat is absolutely crazy. She strikes me as that type. So I know she's not being sarcastic, but still.
風邪なのにお風呂に入れとはつまり僕と入浴したいということ。
Can we get her to tomato? I can't fight the urge to see her squirm again. Wow, like everybody's just done. Usual tactics are now rendered completely ineffective. Great!
なんでも風邪のウイルスは熱に弱いので
Dang.
お風呂に入ることでウイルスが弱る効果が期待できるとかどうとかって耳にしたことがあるんです。そうなのか。
She explains her logic to me. I can't exactly chime in and tell her that I already knew.
さっきの話に戻りますが。
Sister Basquiat. Without thinking, I mutter Sister Basquiat's name.
バスキア教やお料理を作ってもらったことがあるの?
Nerine questions me.
優しげだから名前を挙げただけさ。それによく考えたら彼女は料理はからきしだったね。
Like me, I add with a chuckle.
お菓子作りなら相当の腕だって聞いたことがあるのだけど。
See, like baking, like if you suck at cooking but you're good at baking, you're still like literally a god because baking is crazy hard. It is crazy precise. She adds to save Sister Basquiat's honor. I've never really done what you'd call practice. Again, I'm literally perfect. With regard to my phrasing, is my phrasing bad?
それはつまり歌詞の内容を膨らませて歌うということかな。はい、イメージして歌うのとそうでないとでは歌の表現が変わります。豊かなものとそうでないものとに。本当かよ。野菜にクラシックを聴かせるとよく育つくらいうさんくさいぞ。
You never know, it might. It feels like all evidence that is useful is anecdotal, but sure.
その曲の言葉、セリフから来るイメージを大切にする、しないとでは、声の広がりや説得力が全然違うものになるわ。
When Takasaki-kun is talking about is a fundamental singing. What Takasaki-kun is talking about is a fundamental of singing, yet it's often disregarded, especially by people like me who overestimate how good they are.
なぜ聞くのかわからないまま行われている全身麻酔の例もあるし、そういうこともあるんだよ。注意することにしよう。
I thank Takasaki-kun for her suggestions. Okay. Oh, now we're gonna talk to the crestfallen Ichigo-kun while we're out. While we're out here. When I address my question to Ichigo-kun, her crestfallen expression immediately transforms to elation.
噂話ならお任せあれですよ。ウェンディゴの話は1年生が手元なんで、だいたいみんな知っているんじゃないかな。まさか。私たちじゃないですよ。森に散策に行った子たちが白い影を見たって、それで。
Alright, so long as you're not the one behind it.
七不思議の一つ、 ウェンディゴと合致したというわけだね。
She nods. I rack my brain, wondering whether the origin of the rumors being the first years means that I can use my senior status to put a stop to their spread.
いや、人の口に
You ain't stop. You are not stopping gossip
飽きて収束する方
in a place like this. Yeah, you've just got to wait for him to get bored of it. I fiddle with my ponytail. In order to eradicate the ghoul. I fiddle with my ponytail in order to eradicate the ghoul.
どうしました八代先輩。
I enlisted the help of Yaigaki-kun and company. On the next Sabbath, we left the dorms straight after lunch to head out to the woods where the Wendigo waited. However,
どうしたもこうしたもないって八代先輩はおっしゃっているのよ。顔を見たらわかるでしょ。
how can you tell? It's not like she's not been at her wit's end this entire game, really.
お、相手の顔色がわかるようになったなんて進歩じゃ
Oh,
ない。
hey, you're not a total monster now. Good job. That was a... that sound effect felt like a slap. Wait, was it?
八重垣君。
No, I think we're just, you know, we're here doing gardening, but it's... in the moment, it sounded like she got slapped and her reaction kind of supported that.
あら、もう選定の方はわ
Oh, look who else is here. A feeling of impotence churns in the pit of my stomach at the voice, though it is of course devoid of any ill will.
いや、もうちょっとですかね。バスキア共有の方は終わりましたか。木々の方はみんなに任せて、私の方はバラの剪定に集中できたので、今日やろうと思っていたところはもう少しですね。
To cut a long story short, we were captured by Sister Basquiat. We were out to go start messing around, and she's like, I don't know, y'all looking a little suspicious right now. Why don't you go come and do some fun gardening? Right after lunch. The easiest time to be caught. You're heavy, you're full, you're satisfied, you're unawares. Just as we were setting off,
困ったわ。
spotting Sister Basquiat in front of the dormitory building, a huge pair of shears in her hands, filled us with a sense of dread. We thought we were in we thought we were in a high school rendition of Clock Tower. Takasaki-kun blatantly made sure to avoid eye contact, and I too dithered over whether or not to call out to her. However,
何かお困りなんですか、バスキア共有。まあ、八重垣さん。そうなの。今日たま。
she always says her first name. That's how you know that they're really close. It does make me wonder, and I don't know whether we're supposed to imply or not, but I know she's mentioned that she had been in love once. Kind of makes me wonder if maybe there's like a bit of a history there.
片上寮長に用事が入った。ええ、バラの剪定は一人でもできるけれど、木々の剪定は。
As Yaigaki-kun put a hand on her meager chest. Just had to slap that in there, huh? Takasaki-kun opened her mouth. I guess now what she was about to say was heard. Don't. Unfortunately for us,
だったら、その木々の剪定は
she can't
私た
resist.
ちに任せ
She
て
can't resist helping. I was too slow perceiving the look of affection Yaigaki-kun was casting towards Sister Basquiat, still lulled under that beautiful woman's spell.
バスキア共有には世話になっているんです。
And
こうい
again,
う時が恩を返す時。
she's not wrong.
なあ、千鳥。
Dahlia do be putting in a lot of effort for everybody. Look how happy she is to be helping. And he's like, Yeah, okay, whatever. Not like we were doing anything important. Chidori over here gritting her teeth. No, of course we weren't. We weren't going anywhere to do any type of investigating. Whatever. Ah! Allow me to interrupt. My admiration for this woman will trump any dumb investigation we're doing right now. Anyway, that's just probably stupid anyway. Even Erica gets it at this point. These girls are just bored and making shit up. She applied pressure, smiling her cat-like smile, then she wheeled herself over to where we were still awkwardly standing. Oh, come on, do me a solid here. She doesn't view it as throwing herself into the fire. And again, it's not like Erica's doing anything wrong here. Sure, there may be some small ulterior motives in just, you know, being close to someone like that for a little while, but also she's very pure in her intentions and actually really does want to help her out. Absolutely not. Higaki-kun's cheeks flushed almost imperceptibly, and that was when I was finally convinced. Wow, this like this means a lot to her. And thus before we could go eradicate the Wendigo, we ended up first having to eradicate excess branches. Noticing Yagaki-kun's uncharacteristically apologetic expression, I decided to make a conversation. I asked without pausing in my work. Like that we play these games and we get to learn a whole lot. It's like we really are being taught at the academy. That makes sense. I nod. So the seasons are important when it comes to cutting branches, too. I sure would like to ask her questions, but somehow, you know, 3 3/4 into this series, I don't think that we're getting 3 3/4 of games into this series. I don't think we're getting that answer. Higaki-kun returns Sister Basquiat's bright smile. Again, very valid. Right, I guess Sister Basquiat was the one taking care of Yagaki-kun before Takasaki-kun arrived on the scene. So I can get where she's coming from. Not like this Terminator sense over here can't sense it. Don't make me look bad in front of my other girlfriend. I mean, what? With Takasaki-kun's razor-sharp gaze trained on her face, Yagaki-kun mouths an apology behind Sister Basquiat's back. Seems like Takasaki-kun can't say no to Yaigaki-kun either.
ま、付き合っているのだものな。
Feels like I've been left outside to face the cold winter alone. Instead of sighing pathetically, I take out my frustration by finding a protruding branch and severing it. It's gotten pretty late. She's right. The light filtering down through the trees has darkened to a shade of scarlet.
そうかな。こういう風には考えられないか。一応言ってみて。森をさまようウェンディゴの目撃例では。
Yeah, this actually kind of moved our schedule. You know, this moved us a little bit more ahead. We needed to probably do this. This seems to make a lot more sense.
お前が言うなってことだよな。
She looks down meekly. When we'd finally finished pruning and were able to set off, Sister Basquiat had invited us to join her for a snack, and Yaigaki-kun had readily agreed, telling us it's not like we could say no. Thanks to her, the sun was already setting by the time we arrived at our destination.
やっぱりアルバカーキで左に曲がっときゃよかったんだ。はい？とあるウサギが主人公のアニメでの定番の口癖だよ。
You know, a certain cartoon rabbit.
大抵アルバカーキで道を間違えちまう。まあ、彼のように道を間違えてなかったんだから、よしとしようじゃないか、高崎くん。心の広い先輩でよかったわね。感謝しなさい。もちろんもちろん。2回続けて言うのはね、本心で思ってない証拠なのよ。
While the two of them squabble, I'm focused intently on the trunks and roots of the surrounding trees.
さすがに幹に爪でマーキングしてるってことはないか。幹に爪痕があったら間違いなく回れ右ですよ。ウサギよろしく左の出番なんてない。どういうこと？幹に爪痕は
Yeah, that would be a very bad thing. Not something we should be out here playing around with. Not over a dumb rumor like this. We're not going to play around if real wild animals are involved.
その爪痕とこすりつけた匂いで縄張りに来た他のクマは大きさまでわかるそうだぜ。二人ともどこでそういうことを覚えるの？
You ever read a book, ma'am? Takasaki-kun asks us with a disbelieving laugh.
僕の場合は父だな。
Of course, my dad was also a bearologist. I keep my eyes on the trees as I respond.
お父さんって忙しい人ではあったが、誕生日プレゼントは欠かしたことがなかった。誕生日にキャンプ旅行へ連れて行ってくれたよ。
I explained that that's when he'd taught me the ways of the forest.
普通、誕生日プレゼントって何か品物じゃないですか？アクセサリーとかぬいぐるみとか。そうか。私も10歳の誕生日に野球を見に連れて行ってくれたよ。それから野球。
After that, you loved baseball forever? Higaki-kun trails off and doesn't respond by Takasaki-kun's prodding. Guess it's not a subject she wants. Ooh, bad birthday, huh? Despite the fact that she loves baseball.
と、なかなか面白いものを見つけた。
What you got there, Chief?
ウェンディゴの牙でもありましたか？
Oh, Wendigo fan. Yes.
いや、
Leftovers. All right, now we find this is yeah.
これって野菜？ウェンディゴってお野菜が主食なのかしら？そんなわけないだろうが。
It's not
お前とは違
you.
うんだよ。順当に考えれば、この森に住む動物たちが食い散らかしたんだろうよ。
Bits of half-eaten carrot and potato are strewn around the roots of a tree.
学院周辺の森には様々な動物が生息している。キツネやタヌキ、ニホンジカなども生息しているそうだよ。クマとかもですか？
And bears.
さすがにクマが生息していたら森自体の立ち入りを禁じているよ。
Which, you know, that's still not a good thing to run into.
イノシシ。
Even as I continue chatting, I'm starting to get the feeling that something's not quite right. The nibbled vegetables comprised of carrots and potatoes, yet I've never heard of either growing wild around here. Which means something must have dug them up from the Academy's allotments and dragged them out here, but...
荒らされているなら、2回への回で報告があるはずだ。
Yet we haven't received any such reports. As I'm running things over in my mind, Yaigaki-kun suddenly enters my field of vision. She catches my attention. I don't know why. When something catches your attention, there's always a reason for it. That was another of my dad's teachings. If something nags at me, even if it's just the slightest niggle, I've got to investigate the cause.
八重垣くん?
She's staring wide-eyed at a fixed spot, like a deer caught in the headlights. That's why my eyes were drawn to her. Now my gaze follows hers like it's been drawn by a magnet.
ん? エリカ、何を見て?
Takasaki-kun must have seen it too. There, between the trees, where the light of the setting sun filters down through the leaves, a white shadow.
Wendigo!
Run! Her shriek breaks the spell. The next instant, the Wendigo disappears and I give chase. I knew I should have took a left at Albuquerque. I glare along the path as it stretches on into the distance. I'm really feeling like a directionally challenged rabbit's frustrations right now. I was sure I'd seen it as I broke out into the well-maintained path, but it must have already been way ahead of me. I'm still glaring around the place when my two underclassmen finally catch up to me.
先輩、ウェンディゴは? すまない。逃げられてしまったよ。あんなに足の速い八代先輩から逃げ切るなんて。
She puts a hand to her heaving chest. She must have followed as quickly as she could while maneuvering her amitié partners, which that takes some dexterity. That girl's got some manual dexterity if she's running with a wheelchair, trying to not throw the person out face first, but trying to keep up with somebody who's probably a really fast runner, like Yatsushiro is.
僕もあともう少しというところまでは追い詰めたんだけどね。毒液でも吐いてきましたか？毒は吐かないが、こいつに足を取られて転びそうになったんだよ。
Now this is how we get the bag this time around. I show them the dirty sack, which was wholly responsible for wrapping around my feet and distracting me so that the Wendigo escaped.
ズダ袋？おいおい、この学院の七不思議はさらうって聞いているが。袋に生徒を詰めようとしていたってわけ?
It's a really funny idea. I feel as though the forest itself shudders at an ominous suggestion. But the darkening forest continues to shake as though laughing at my train of thought. A few days after our search for the wandering Wendigo of the woods. Alright, so now we are in solve the case mode. So it was the bits of vegetables left in the sack. The stain on the sack. Recycling. And she knows the truth. Alright. So now we move on past this, because I don't see... Okay, now we're going back to Ichigo time. So let's go back. No, we're going back to the Ringo zone. I don't know why I said Ichigo there. That was because I'm not as perceptive as Yatsushiro. Also, I've been reading for like 2 hours now, and it's running a little longer than I thought it would. I typically sit down to only do an hour of these. I'm probably splitting this one up. Jeez. And since I've already been recording for almost 2 hours, that means I will probably have already split it up by the time you get to this part. So don't worry, it's probably not going to be split in this one, I don't think. Unless it goes like 4 hours or something. Clouds have been hanging low over my gloomy mind with no sign of lifting. Shortly after I started elementary school, I was hospitalized with pneumonia. In my sickly state, my eyes wouldn't show me reality as it truly was. Everything was hazy, as though I was seeing the world through a roughened glass. My surroundings were indistinct, ambiguous. I was aware only of the sharp needle of the IV piercing the back of my hand. Things feel similar now. Clouded vision and a distinct pain. Just like when I watched Nerine Komikado carry Yatsushiro-senpai on her back, sharp pain and a haze over everything. I felt terrible that she'd badly sprained her ankle because of me, but it hurt even worse to witness her happiness. When I close my eyes, I again see her giving herself up to my embrace like a child to her mother. Sparks of jealousy set fire raging in my chest. I have become hopelessly twisted inside. I'm incapable of being happy for the person that I love. As autumn approached its end, I heard from my sister that Yatsushiro-senpai was laid up in bed with a cold. I resolved that this time I'd actually pay her a visit, but just like when she sprained her ankle, she was turning away all well-wishers. According to my sister, it was because if she let even one person see her, she'd be inundated with a flood of visitors. It made sense. I must have looked disappointed because she told me of the rumors that were circulating. Good! Rumors are always a good thing at this school. The Wandering Wendigo of the Woods, one of the rumored 7 mysteries of the Academy. I'd heard the name before, but it was only recently that actual sightings had started to be reported. Knowing my love of all things spooky, she dragged me out to look for it. And knowing that she was doing it for my sake, I wandered the woods with her, even though my world was still just shades of gray. The trees' colorful leaves were falling, their branches starting to look lonely and bare. I couldn't help but think back on when we'd gone leaf viewing. Faking cheerfulness, I'd trampled through the piles of crunchy leaves, and my world suddenly opened up. Yatsushiro-senpai smiled at me, and I saw it clearly. She made me laugh with her usual jokes, and the pain had been tormenting me faded away. There was a distinct undercurrent to Yatsushiro-senpai's banter, an implication that she could see through my facade. It's like kind of the case of, again, it's a brilliant story of 2 people who can like just read each other like a book. It's something I was able to spot because I had been acting the same way towards my sister. While what she held within hers was different to mine, honed to a precision, my happiness is finding out that we had something in common had outweighed the guilt. As talk of the Wendigo spread, another rumor sprung up that the choral contest would be temporarily postponed. However, a statement was issued by the faculty stating that the Wendigo was simply a misidentified wild animal. I would still be able to see Yatsushiro-senpai sing. Knowing this, I was anticipating the day of the choral contest, but I looked forward to it with an equal degree of trepidation. I'd heard that she would be singing the final performance as a duet together with Nerine Komikado. The duet resonated within me, but their voices brought back pain in my heart, which fractured the light through the coarse glass. I felt it would expose the same aspects that were present when I suffered from pneumonia as a child. Still, I wanted resolution, and because of that conviction, I was able to face up to myself, my vision clear and unclouded, however much my chest ached. The choral contest was over. After checking that my sister was asleep, I slipped out to Yatsushiro-senpai's room, wanting to finally hear her answer. However, I happened to catch her leaving. I was about to call out to her, but I stopped when I saw something familiar in her expression. Feeling as though I somehow knew where this was going, I quietly followed behind her as she made her way down the corridor. Sure enough, she passed through the heavy doors to the chapel, and after her came Nerine Komikado. Looking up at the sky above, I imagined what was happening within the chapel, but I had no need for speculation. I knew from the look on her face. It was the same look that I'd worn when I slipped out of the Halloween party and confessed to her. Picking a star in the sky, I focused all my anguish on it until I realized that it was blinking. Although the stars operate on a different time scale, their brilliance changes, like how a candle flame will flicker and dim in a breeze and burn together in a moment before it's extinguished. How long did I gaze up into that star to distract myself? The sound of footsteps rushing away brought me back to earth, and I looked toward the chapel. That bright blonde hair stood out even against the profound dark. Nerine Komikado had fled. Before I knew it, my feet were carrying me inside the building. Oh. I'd guessed what happened from the aura Komikado-senpai had carried with her through the darkness, but Yatsushiro-senpai looked terribly fragile, crumpled before the image of Christ on the cross. When I'd witnessed her being carried by Komikado-senpai, I'd been assailed by emotions that had no outlet. And I knew that they'd never find one, no matter how much I yearned. And yet, seeing her in that fragile state, some wicked part of me whispered that perhaps this was my chance. Yeah, I mean, I kind of had figured that was also a part of her rushing in to because like, why else would she be there, right? Like, she obviously followed her, and she had obviously seen what was going on, and obviously everybody's gonna kind of have that moment where the devil on their shoulder goes like, you know, maybe if I do the good thing here, this could, you know, put me in a position, and you know, people are gonna have people feelings, I guess. And also, we're also dealing with teenagers here. Very important thing to remember. Perhaps the flower of illicit love that had bloomed between them would prove to be my way in. The compassionate urge to console her fought the wicked desire to take advantage of her in this weakened state. Those emotions quickly darkened my heart like a sudden summer rain on asphalt. Oh. There ain't no ulterior motives there. She really does care for her. She really does accept her. That ain't an act. Okay. We are going into, this is chapter 5, I think, right? So we're, I think we're coming in on the end of a route. Depending on if there's like a, you know, if there's 2 more scenes and then an ending, this might have to be like like I might have to split this twice. We'll see though. The bitter coffee prickles my tongue as I think, okay, I think this is, okay, and then we're gonna feign ignorance. Her lips curve into a feline smirk as she chuckles, and I give her a death glare, taking care not to let anything show on my face. Still smirking, she takes another drink of her coffee. She doesn't even seem to find it bitter this time. Okay. Rain in winter is way too quiet. Sister Basquiat's gonna turn it into an issue. I think of our pious Christian teacher.
バスキア教諭が問題として取り上げた
It requires courage for me to say it out loud. Sister Basquiat, and by extension the faculty, has found out about our relationship.
あ、バスキア教諭は気づいちゃいませんよ。最近クラスの雰囲気が悪いなってくらいにしか思っちゃいないと思いますよ。そうか。ヒヤツシロ先輩なら愉快じゃないことにすぐ気づくと思ったんですけどね。
Because Ichigo-kun had seen the letter meant for Ringo.
ええ、正直少しくらいは仲違いするかもとは思っていましたが、あれほど露骨に避けるようになるとは。
I like that she, what do you like about Ringo? I like that she likes me. That's such a bad answer. She suddenly turns the romance talk around on me.
そうだ。僕を好きになってくれたところだよ。
I get anybody. Look, it could have been literally anyone. I gave an answer in the same lighthearted spirit as the question. That doesn't seem lighthearted. That feels like the absolute worst thing you could tell somebody. Hey, tell me why you love me. I don't know. You were the first one that said, hey, I kind of like you, and that was enough for me. Seeing her lips form a tight line, I internally berate myself. Yeah, you should. That was the stupidest answer you could have given. You'd be happy with whoever offered themselves. Yeah, right? Not helping. Not helping. Yeah, you're not. Dig a hole, dig it deep. Bury yourself alive.
違う。僕も女だ。愛するより愛されたいってだけさ。お互いを持っているのは大前提として。
That's like, I'll give you like a 7 on that save. As I explain myself, the flush returns to Ringo's cheeks, and she smiles bashfully. All right, good enough for her. We nailed it.
やれやれ。ごちそうさまだ。
I guess with my father. You get a lot of that in this series. I banished the image from my mind.
かな。奇遇ですね。私としてもお父さんが初恋の相手でしたよ。女の子の初めて通る道なのかもしれないね。
That's a lie. I respected my father, but for as long as I've been aware of it, my romantic feelings have only ever been directed toward women.
私とリンゴの差。
I think, yeah, like that's the reason why she's kind of real skeptical of this relationship anyways, because again, it's an all-girls school, when in Rome, and hey, it's just a phase, you know? All of those awful thoughts come to mind when she is just like, no, like this is totally me. Like this girl self-actualized a long, long, long time ago. While I know that I'm the one who's different, it still makes me feel forlorn. It would be. I think you two are great together. I never thought things would be simple. But I also hadn't expected it to be this rough going. I've been making every effort to resolve the werewolf of the bell tower incident, but... Despite doing my very best to speak with my fellow students in order to get information about the case, people are refusing to respond properly. Everything with me and Ringo has set a precedent, and I've not made any attempts to bridge the resulting gap with my peers. Our interactions on miscellaneous academy matters have been confined to the bare minimum. And that's meant I haven't been fully aware of just how much people are keeping their distance from me. But there's not much point in comparing in comparing them to now, and comparing then to now. The problem at hand is that I'm unable to have the conversations I need in order to gather information. Wondering what to do, I press my index finger to my cool forehead. My very cool and flawless forehead. What? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know that threats are a good idea, regardless of your current status with them. I don't fancy myself a detective, which means I need someone else to act as my eyes and ears. The image of the girl who has always been there to support me comes to mind unbidden, but I'm in no position to ask her for help, nor do I have the courage. In which case, guess we're gonna Columbo this mess. I can't hold a candle to that girl, although her amitié partner, Hanabishi-kun, is also trusted by her classmates. She'd make an excellent assistant. The wheelchair wonder! That's a thing she just said. Telling myself that it's for Ringo, I head to the library after class. Look, I'm down for anything that gives us more Erica time. If I'm being honest, it wasn't entirely unexpected. Right as I arrive in front of the library, the doors fly open and there she is. Before I even have time to consider turning tail and fleeing. Hey, how you doing? I've been snared by Ichigo Sasaki. My face, the picture of seriousness, I nod. Rather than this girl who actively approached me, I chose her sister. According to Yaigaki-kun, while they're not acting obviously out of sorts, there's a cold wind blowing between the twins, and it's all my fault. I nod again. She's acting the same as ever with me. It seems she doesn't intend to change her attitude toward me because of the things with her sister. I keep my usual masks in place. The president of the Council of Nikaya and the jokester Yuzuriha Yatsushiro. I spin on my heel. She's hit the nail right on the head. Why ever would you think that? Whatever do you mean, dear fruit sister? Okay, so is this the play? We're gonna hang out? We're gonna try and smooth things over this way? Surprised by her intelligent assessment, I let her know that she's got it pretty much right. Well, I mean, like, you got no other options at the moment, it seems. I know all the hot goss and how to get other hot goss from all the hot gossers. Honestly, her offer has come completely out of left field for me. I mean, I bet she's not happy about it, but it's probably best to attack that head on while you're here, yeah? My true feelings come pouring out in the form of that one question. It's a cruel question to ask her. For a moment, her expression shifts to one of pure sorrow. Oh, I still do feel bad because, I mean, again, I think that her feelings did start from more of an admiration place, and they probably did kind of form into, you know, romantic feelings, and Ringo did kind of, you know, do what she did. So I can understand Ichigo feeling bad about it. However, there you go. She's determined. Man, passionate. She declares spiritedly, and I find myself moved by her kindness. I was about to say, I am also reminded of the movie Scrooged. Oh, that is such a nice thing to say to her in a moment like this. I think she really kind of needs that kind of positive reinforcement. May hurt a little bit too, because I mean, obviously those kind sentiments can actually hurt when you've had these feelings for someone, but I think it's coming from a good place. I thought there must have been a discord between the sisters. The bond between the twins is stronger than I'd realized, though, and not so easily broken. Nah, they obviously a real ugly tension there for a while, I'm sure. But when it comes down to it, you actually, you know, you actually hurt her sister. She's not going to be very happy about that. Then again, you know, knowing what we know about this situation. Oh. An image of the best friend I'm no longer on speaking terms with flashes momentarily through my mind, but I decide to take her up on her offer. As I watch her feed the rabbits, I murmur that we've gathered some pretty useful information. I always love seeing Ichigo happy. I was shocked at just how easily Ichigo-kun was able to coax the teachers into talking, and it also served to hammer home my own failure. It'd be weird for the teachers to stick their noses into their students' love lives. Man, I don't know why reading Love Lives just messed with me there, but my brain got hung up on that, like I was saying the name of like the property Love Live, and my brain was like, Love Live. And I don't even engage with Love Live. The only like idol band property that I've ever engaged with, honestly, was Bang Dream It's My Go. And that's meant I haven't been fully aware of just how much people are keeping their distance from me. But there's not much point in comparing them to now, and comparing then to now. The problem at hand is that I'm unable to have the conversations I need in order to gather information. Wondering what to do, I press my index finger to my cool forehead. My very cool and flawless forehead. I don't know, yeah. I don't know that threats are a good idea, regardless of your current status with them. I don't fancy myself a detective, which means I need someone else to act as my eyes and ears. The image of the girl who has always been there to support me comes to mind unbidden, but I'm in no position to ask her for help, nor do I have the courage. In which case, yes, we're gonna Columbo this mess. I can't hold a candle to that girl, although her amitié partner, Hanabishi-kun, is also trusted by her classmates. She'd make an excellent assistant. The wheelchair wonder! That's That's a thing she just said. Telling myself that it's for Ringo, I head to the library after class. Look, I'm down for anything that gives us more Erica time. If I'm being honest, it wasn't entirely unexpected. Right as I arrive in front of the library, the doors fly open and there she is. Before I even have time to consider turning tail and fleeing. Hey, how you doing? I've been snared by Ichigo Sasaki. My face, the picture of seriousness, I nod. Rather than this girl who actively approached me, I chose her sister. According to Yaigaki-kun, while they're not acting obviously out of sorts, there's a cold wind blowing between the twins, and it's all my fault. I nod again. She's acting the same as ever with me. It seems she doesn't intend to change her attitude toward me because of the things with her sister. I keep my usual masks in place. The president of the Council of Nikaya and the jokester Yuzuriha Yatsushiro. I spin on my heel. She's hit the nail right on the head. Why ever would you think that? Whatever do you mean, dear fruit sister? Okay, so is this the play? We're gonna hang out? We're gonna try and smooth things over this way? Surprised by her intelligent assessment, I let her know that she's got it pretty much right. Well, I mean, like, you got no other options at the moment, it seems. I know all the hot goss and how to get other hot goss from all the hot gossers. Honestly, her offer has come completely out of left field for me. I mean, I bet she's not happy about it, but it's probably best to attack that head on while you're here, yeah? My true feelings come pouring out in the form of that one question. It's a cruel question to ask her. For a moment, her expression shifts to one of pure sorrow. Oh, I still do feel bad because, I mean, again, I think that her feelings did start from more of an admiration place, and they probably did kind of form into, you know, romantic feelings, and Ringo did kind of, you know, do what she did. So I can understand Ichigo feeling bad about it. However, there you go. She's determined. Man, passionate. She declares spiritedly, and I find myself moved by her kindness. I was about to say, I am also reminded of the movie Scrooged. Oh, that is such a nice thing to say to her in a moment like this. I think she really kind of needs that kind of positive reinforcement. May hurt a little bit too, because I mean, obviously those kind sentiments can actually hurt when you've had these feelings for someone, but I think it's coming from a good place. I thought there must have been a discord between the sisters. The bond between the twins is stronger than I'd realized, though, and not so easily broken. Nah, they obviously a real ugly tension there for a while, I'm sure. But when it comes down to it, you actually, you actually hurt her sister. She's not going to be very happy about that. Then again, knowing what we know about this situation. Oh. An image of the best friend I'm no longer on speaking terms with flashes momentarily through my mind, but I decide to take her up on her offer. As I watch her feed the rabbits, I murmur that we've gathered some pretty useful information.
さすが学院の事情通がいると話が早い。たくさんの示唆を与えてくれる情報を得たよ。よかった。そうちゃんややいがきちゃんじゃないとダメかなって思ったんですけど。
I always love seeing Ichigo happy.
探偵役が多すぎても難解になるだけさ。ま、生徒らだけでなく、教諭たちにも話を聞けたのは良かった。
I was shocked at just how easily Ichigo-kun was able to coax the teachers into talking, and it also served to hammer home my own failure. It'd be weird for the teachers to stick their noses into their students' love lives. Man, I don't know why reading Love Lives just messed with me there, but my brain got hung up on that, like I was saying the name of like the property Love Live, and my brain was like, Love Live. And I don't even engage with Love Live. The only like idol band property that I've ever engaged with, honestly, was Bang Dream It's My Go. Which everybody should watch that. It's amazing. But then everybody went and watched Girls Band Cry instead, and I'm very upset about that because and now I have to hold a harsh vendetta against Girls Band Cry because everybody watched that one instead. Everybody that I told to watch It's My Go literally went and watched Girls Band Cry instead. Again, a weird tangent. Sorry. Go watch It's My Go, please.
教諭の先生からは何を聞いていたんですか？怪我の具合と犯行時間さ。いちごくんの話からも聞いてはいたが、裏を取る必要はあったのでね。私的な言葉だけじゃ足りなかったですか？身内の話は信用度で一段劣るからね。別に信じてないわけじゃない。急に襲われて慌てて逃げたって。雨でぬかるんでいたからそれで。なるほど。滑ってしまって余計にひどくくじいてしまったか。それでいちごくん、リンゴは犯人を見てはいないのだろう。
She pauses in playing with the bunnies, then, with a glance my way, hesitantly shakes her head.
鐘楼のルーガル、七不思議の怪異が犯人ではない。犯人は見ていないと言っていました。でも心優しい彼女は襲ってきたものを生徒だということで犯人探しをされることを良しとしなかった。
Ichigo-kun frowns and nods. She went along with Ringo's decision, but it seems it doesn't sit right with her, which is why she's helping me.
しかし狼男だと言ったからには鐘楼のルーガルーのことを知っていたのだろう。よく失われていた七不思議の名を知っていたね。リンゴはもともと階段好きでそっち方面のことを調べてましたから、コミカド先輩ともよく七不思議について話していたみたいですし。
The sudden mention of Neri's name makes me flinch, but right now I'm wearing my jokester mask, so I quickly recover.
それでかばうためにルーガルーを持ち出してきたのか。僕も怪の年間で調べてみたが、驚くほど出現数の少ない怪異だというのに。そうなのですか？ああ、なんというかあまり実がない七不思議の一つだな。鐘楼の聖堂に現れ遭遇したものをさらうとだけ記述されていた。それだけですか？夜遅くに行ったとか悪いことをしたらとかは？そういった表記は全くない。唯一深夜鳴るはずのない鐘の音が聞こえた時に現れる。
Well, the bell's there. We might as well talk about it ringing to make the story more ominous. Frowning, Ichigo-kun folds her arms and tilts her head thoughtfully.
なんというか、聖堂にお化けが出るって違和感ですよね。日本的な感覚だと神社に幽霊が。
We're going so roundabout with this story. For where we know this story ends up, we are going in such a roundabout way to avoid the actual truth. She has a point. A creepy monster is out of place in any sacred space. I suddenly have a flash of inspiration for a lame pun. Surely an attempt. Well, get out of here, Yuzu! Get out! Oh, it's okay, Yuzu. I laughed and I appreciated it. Oh, you do! Yo, you got it! Ichigo super smart, big brain, let's go! She's clearly overcompensating. I'm so embarrassed. I want the ground to swallow me up. Not me. When I make a joke that bad and I get to double down on it, I am the proudest person on the planet. Ask anybody that knows me. I'd only wanted to lighten the mood. I had the same thought. My cheeks were still burning, but happy to move on. I tell her I was about to say the same. A story made up to frighten children, like that if they get too close to a certain river, they'll be pulled in by the mystical kappa. In reality, there's no kappa, but there are dangerous rapids. It conveys a warning to kids in a way that's easy for them to understand. For some reason, I flashed to Paranormacite there. It has a similar kind of curse that swallows people in a river if you look at it too long, if I remember right. Anybody play Paranormacite? I thought it was okay. Agreeing with Ichigo's proposal, I decide to head back to the scene of the crime. Despite being gilded by the warm colors of the setting sun, the chapel gives off a frosty impression. Although maybe it's just me projecting as I stare up at it. She casts her eyes down. Her gaze is trained on the stones beneath her feet. She blinks at me, not seeming to comprehend what I'm implying. The room I spy behind the windows of her eyes is disordered and chaotic. We know why her television screen is fizzling in and out. Finally understanding, her face pales. It's an even more hideous thought than any image the word werewolf can conjure. Clasping her hands in mine, I make a vow. As I look into her eyes, I see fear and turmoil. You got enough, like, it's cool that you got enough from being around her and kind of like seeing the way she's acting to kind of start being able to put it together, even if, like, you know, on top of the evidence that maybe you'd kind of mentally noted herself. The pieces are coming together. Gazing at the chapel, now red as blood in the dying light of the day, I let out a long, faint sigh. Dun, 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 dun. Lying in bed and listen to the sound of the cold wind. The cry. Okay, this is... Okay. So, the basis for thinking that she was looking at her reflection. I think that was it. Like right after that. Yeah. Didn't go to the chapel is the lack of footprints. Okay. Okay. And then we do it again, but this time we solve it correctly. Okay, and then probably want to do this right here. I've got a I've got a premonition that we might need a save there for some reason. All right, so we put that together, and then we jump. From our silent room, I gaze up at the night sky. The cool, clear light of the crescent moon gilds the forest with silver. As I gaze out at the silvery blue sea of trees, I think of two women. One toward whom love has been revealed to me through jealousy, Yuzuriha Yatsushiro, who I'm not involved with. And... aww. I look over at where she lays, sleeping peacefully. We had lied to one another for the first time, and our relationship had become strained as the days of silent treatment had stretched on. Out of frustration, I had gone to her with a proposal. A proposal to switch places. I suggested that we take turns going on my dates with Yatsushiro-senpai. A stupid idea, born out of desperation and the turmoil of having had a relationship complicated as it never had been before. Oh, it still hurts. Like, it's just, she's willing to share her girlfriend, it just so she doesn't hurt her sister. And again, that's not good, because again, that comes to the problem of her sacrificing something of herself to ensure that her sister's happy, and that's not how you make your sister happy. I'd expected her to get angry at me and tell me to quit screwing around, but instead... In fact, with an impish smile like back during the Bloody Mary days, she had taken me up on it eagerly, saying it sounded like an interesting experiment. So as to not be found out, I had taken the dates with Erika Yagaki. I had taken the dates in Erika Yagaki's room while my sister had gone on our trysts at the St. Joseph beneath the chapel. At first, I'd felt no hint of jealousy toward my sister as she confided in me about her dates. I simply felt happy for her as I listened. I didn't want to see my sweet and innocent sister sad and resentful after all. However, how many dates in was it? I had noticed a tiny red mark on her neck as my sister sat on the bed, proudly telling me, Oh, things got a little, shall we say, a little more, touchy-feely than normal. Dang. So Ichigo got Oh my. It was then that I felt a niggling touch of jealousy in the pit of my stomach for the first time. At first, I thought it was leveled at Yatsushiro-senpai, though it may have been misplaced. I thought I was blaming my girlfriend for not realizing she wasn't with me. And I mean, when she had been able to make that, that she had kind of even admitted herself that she had kind of stopped thinking about it. But again, it's also something I feel like you would not consciously think a lot about. Even if you're dating a twin, I think you would hope that the twin that you're dating wouldn't switch out like that. I thought I was jealous of the fact that she was being intimate with someone other than me, and you are. But the dates continued, and I continued to listen to my sister as she blithely chatted about what happened during their trysts, and I started to wonder. I asked myself as I watched my sister snuggled up under her blanket and sleeping peacefully. Jealousy writhed within me, and I listened to her as I listened to her talk about their date, cup in hand, but the feeling had been directed toward them both. Toward my girlfriend, Yuzuriha Yatsushiro, for getting close to someone other than me. Toward my sister, Ichigo Sasaki, for getting close to someone other than me. I felt the same jealousy toward them both. Is this feeling a product of my own possessiveness, or... My heart sinks at the thought of the red mark on her neck. Not just because it means that she's been getting close to someone other than me, to Yatsushiro-senpai. The feeling twisting my heart is... Who do you really love? Oh! Well, I mean, we're on a road right now. I'll go ahead and... There. And we're gonna go with Yuzuriha. Because this is the one I want to see play out! Okay, so this is the last chapter. Yeah, this second half is still gonna go a lot longer than the first half, but I think we're just gonna roll with it. Okay. I don't know what you're talking about. Her earnest gaze seems to pierce right through the most hidden depths of my heart. Okay. The pressure of her gaze only increases, the intense look in her eyes bringing back memories of the incident 1 year earlier. That incident! We're not getting any info on that incident 1 year ago. You're saving it for the last one. You're saving it for the last one. Maybe it's to do with Ringo. Why would she suddenly be avoiding me? Rika-kun's brow furrows at my whispered words. She clearly feels awkward. Ringo and I are getting together was what set off this whole werewolf in the bell tower incident. People saw me as a womanizer. They thought I was betraying my longtime partner Nerine for a new flame. Still... Which reminds me of a quote from Jurassic Park. Talk about a delayed reaction. Maybe I'm not one to talk, but why now? Alright. So, the wintry chill of the night air brings clarity to both my mind and heart. It's a perfect environment to ponder the words I need to say to her. With the icy breeze tingling against my cheeks, I arrive at the chapel just as I did that night. Oh! Okay, I see what we're doing now. I see how we're dividing these up. All right. So I know how to get all the endings, I think, now. I think that, all right. So we think of Nerine Komikado. Because this is like the long, I feel like this is probably the second quote unquote big ending. Like, there's some, like, but we already kind of had true ending with her, so now I am even more curious. Closing my eyes, I take a moment to listen to both the voices and look deep within myself. Sitting on a chair in the barren room of my mind, her expression is one of bewilderment and suppressed pain. It is Nerine Komikado. Okay. Okay. I look around the room and it feels like ages since I was last here. It's silent. The sewing machines lined up primly on the tables, watched over by faceless mannequins. I address them cheerfully, but of course they don't respond. We could make a new school mystery out of that, though. The talking. You get one of the students hears a sewing machine respond. Smirking at my own silly antics, I think about today's task. Talking to Nerine, with whom my relationship has become strained. Oh, we're just gonna take the bull by the horns here. She's been avoiding me deliberately, so today I'd gotten up from my seat in the classroom, marched straight over to her desk, and told her I wanted to talk. She looked shocked by my approach. With all eyes on us, I'd held out a letter I'd written in advance. It contained a simple message: meet me tonight at 10 p.m. in the textiles room. There had been much more I wanted to write, but once I started, there hadn't been enough paper in the world for everything I wanted to write. Besides, I felt like putting it down on paper would somehow distort the true meaning of what I wanted to convey. I looked from the clock to the wall to the forest outside the window, intending to remain here for a while, even if she never does show up. I stare out at the individual silhouettes of the trees like I'm testing my vision. I then turn my attention to the mannequins, tracing their outlines with my eyes as though waiting for their eyes to move like the portrait of Beethoven in the music room. Then, all right, buckle up. Buckle up, Buttercup. It's about to get nasty, I think. The sound of the doors softly opening and closing reaches my ears. Biting back an urge to tell her that it's fine. That next I was going to have a grand old time staring at the sewing machines, I simply watch her walk towards me. Nerine asks me as I stare back at her. Her stunning beauty still makes me gasp. It's a precise beauty, like her features have been sensitively sanded to perfection by the most talented sculptors. A delicate beauty, which the slightest slip of a chisel could utterly ruin. She just does not hold back. And why would she at this point? Taking my narrowed eyes as a sign I'm joking, she shoots me a dubious look. I think that as someone who aims to balance the scales, my vision is cleared now. I feel I finally have a place to belong, which is why the trauma I sustained as a child continues to impact me today. I can't tell if she's like upset or angry or pensive. Again, this girl is a hard read when she's like being serious. She speaks like a priest inviting a confession, and I want to come back with a barb, but instead, restraining myself under her earnest gaze, I decide to speak honestly and truly upon my heart to her. It resonates in my ears. It's like her lips are right against my earlobe. Oh, how you wish that were the case. She says, looking around the chapel as though searching for some sort of sign. I think of the hymn we'd sung at Mass and how we'd sung it together. She looks me in the eye for the first time. Her beautiful celadon eyes meet mine.
ここへ呼び出したのはあの日の答えを聞くためなのでしょう。
In response to her question, I nod.
あ、二階屋の会の長でない。ただの八代ゆずりはに戻った。
She closes her eyes, pondering, then reveals those beautiful orbs once again. Looking into them, I know. Nerine Komikado has also found the resolve to tip the scales.
ねえ、ゆずりは。以前。
Oh man, that was a rough one, wasn't it? That was a rough meeting for her.
僕が会ってくれとお願いした。私はあの日、あなたが席を立ち、二人きりになった時、こう切り出されたの。本当はゆずりはを友達とは思っていないのでしょうって幼い私の気持ちを見抜くようにそう告げた。そして
I don't care if it's a lie, but please, please. Promise my Yuzuriha. You'll always be with her in my stead.
そう告げ頼まれたの。
Having had no clue she'd had such an exchange with my mother, I'm rendered speechless.
母は私のことを思って幼い頃の私は傲慢だった。あなたを私の思い通りにさせようとして。そんな。そして私はその後うつを受け大病を患った。でも私はそんなことで罪が許されたとは思っていない。
The curtains are shut tight across the windows to her room, blocking me from seeing inside. She's stubborn like that.
僕は気にしていない。その言葉でほだされるほどの傷ではないの。もう一度言う。僕は気にしていないんだ。
Although I know she's as stubborn as a glacier in an ice age, there's nothing I can do but repeat those words. Nerine, however, slowly shakes her head.
私はね、ゆずりはあの時の言葉がずっと古い傷のように残っているの。あなたと親友になったのは私の偽らざる気持ちよ。でも冬の凍えるような寒い朝に鈍い痛みから思い出すような言葉なの。私の代わりにずっと一緒にいてあげてください。
She sighs, a quiet but long and heavy sigh.
ゆずりは私はあなたのことが好きよ。多分今まであった誰よりも何よりも。
Oh.
でも私は確
I
信することが
suppose that's absolutely something that could happen to you if your relationship began on a note of insincerity.
あなたのお母さんの言葉があったから
Yeah, like that
や
would...
ろうと決めたのか。
That's entirely valid too. That's just an ugly truth. That just like, yeah, like as much as you may want this, like there's a very real part of herself that one feels incredibly guilty for having ever treated her this way. And also it's just like, yeah, like if you get hit with something like that by someone's dying mother, it's just like, how do you know you're not just... There's a lot of tackling like the ways in which you don't know if you're being sincere or not. And I think that a lot of this is just like, well, you kind of just have to take a leap of faith. Really, I think that that's kind of the point here, is that like you maybe don't know that yet, but you know, what if you gave yourself that opportunity? What if you took that chance? Again, it kind of goes back to We're all girls in a girls' school. Like, what if we're all just kind of dating each other out of convenience and we're not really lesbians? Like, who knows? You kind of just got to dive in and see what happens. You know, like maybe you end up in another Erika Chidori situation where it's like, we don't know that this is us, but then you kind of jumped in and it was just like, no, this is absolutely right. Her words sit heavy on my chest like a death sentence. Her voice fades and the oxygen is sucked from the air around me. Narrowing my eyes, I stare into her face, perfect as a statue's, and I smile. Oh, that hurts, dude. I want to scream at her that she's wrong. When I met Nerine Komikado, I felt alive for the very first time. I learned how warm people could be, that you can believe in goodness, and that the scent of the air changes with the season. Clutching at my chest so hard I might crush it, I glare up at Christ on the cross. Oh, that's the end? Dude, that's the ending? Oh! Oh, man. Okay. Oh, man. I feel like I just got crushed there. Oh. Oh, man. Okay. Like, and there's nothing, like, again, like, that's all valid. Like, yeah, like, being messed up in the way that Nerine Komikado is messed up. I understand her feelings, and it sucks, but it's just like, when you are, like, so unsure of yourself in that way because of the circumstances that led you to being there. And again, I think that we look at it from the outside and say that the obvious answer is just like, and you get that in the true ending. It's just like, yeah, like I feel this way and I feel like I've messed up like this, but I'm diving in anyway because sometimes it's just worth the risk. So, and I think that that's kind of a, I think that this series kind of has an overarching theme of sometimes you just kind of gotta make a leap of faith. Like, even in some of the mysteries where I don't feel you're not given 100% of the details to be able to solve it, but you're kind of supposed to take a leap of logic. And I think maybe that's sort of correlated in some way where these characters obviously need to kind of just like take a leap of faith and see where it lands you. I think maybe that like that's sort of tied into some of those more difficult mysteries. Now that I think about it, now that I have this insight and I've kind of like seen this play a little more in this particular installment, maybe that's what they were doing. I don't know. They could just also be mysteries that maybe weren't put together very well. But I can also see legitimately, not just making an excuse for anything, how you could totally arrive at the conclusion that like it is about just taking a leap of faith sometimes. The seasons turn, the harsh winter mellowing into spring, a calm, quiet, still spring. Plump cherry blossom buds swell, and the green leaves of the trees seem to enhance the blue of the sky above. Spring has come! I've come to the chapel early in the morning to say my prayers. The light filtering in through the stained glass windows has softened and mellowed to the point where I can sense the change in the season just from the rays against my cheek. Narrowing my eyes, I gaze at her, knelt in prayer. Oh. My heart aches ever so slightly at the sight of her bathed in the morning light. Oh. I was disappointed in love. The pain in my heart sustained that day still hasn't fully faded. Even on this warm spring morning, if I look for it, it's there. Deep in my heart, somewhere no one can touch, there's a scar from back when it was broken. It stings every time I see her there, fervently offering up her prayers.
私がしたことは愚かだったろうか。
I silently addressed the statue of Christ on the cross. Could I have been with her always, had I not tried to tip the scales and seek a place of my own? Was I wrong to choose her, hurting Ringo Sasaki in the process? I look up at the ever-silent figure of Christ enveloped in the gentle light, and yet again question my choices.
間違いじゃない。
I answer myself in place of the mute figure before me. I was not wrong.
私は今まで次々と回ってくる役をダクダクと演じていただけな気がする。
That feels nice.
結局
Uh...
何も選んでは来なかった。だが私は初めて役ではない自分の意志で選び掴もうと手を伸ばすことができた。
And the thing I've chosen has slipped from my grasp, and that happens. It happens sometime. I think it's just important to not let that be what defines you, because you can find new things. You've discovered that you are allowed to feel this way. You are allowed to have these things. It's just you may not grasp them, and it's okay to move on and try to find something like that again.
いつものことだ。
My whispered words echo quietly in the chapel. I wonder if they may have reached Nettie's ears, but she remains in prayer, not moving a muscle.
僕が望むものでなく向こうからやってきたものなら何でもうまく
Heart breaking into a million pieces, though. A cynical smile rises to my lips, a copy of my father's. No, I'm not going to mimic anyone anymore. I take a step forward toward her. Despite my wounds, despite it all, I vow never to stop loving Nerine Komikado.
恋は破れはしたが恋心は
At this point, you've got to take those feelings and you've got to retrofit them into a way to be a better friend. And you also have to do that in a way that doesn't leave you romantically strung to this person forever. Had to do that a number of times. Sometimes you fall in love with somebody and you don't mean to. Or even if it's something long and protracted like this, it's just you have a couple of choices when you're rebuffed or when you realize things aren't going to happen. You either have to walk away from that because maybe it's too painful, or you find a way for those feelings to supplement the friendship that you can grow with them. And I think that can be a very fruitful thing. I've had a number of fantastic friendships that actually grew from having had those sort of romantic interests before. The wound is still deep and fresh, but who cares?
たとえ彼女が私を受け入れてくれなくても私は
I hope that, like, with this ending, that in time she realizes it is okay to romantically move on. That hand she extended to me when we were little, that warm, gentle hand of hers that taught me to shake hands.
そう
That's right.
僕はあの時から
Ever since then,
ずっと
my eye is still on her. I pray to God for Nerine Komikado's health and for us to always be together. That's a rough ending. I mean, it's an ending where I think it's a character that, you know, given the fact that she is a teenager, you hope that, like, yes, it's important to keep this person by your side and to always want to be with them. I think that's valid. That's awesome. You know, too many people don't have friends that last that long or have bonds that go that deep, but it's one where you kind of just hope that, like, she gets it later, that, like, you can still love this person and it not be a romantic thing. You can use those as a seed for something. So, all right. So, It took us a while to get here, but we are now here. I do believe that we have 2 endings remaining. All right. So I think I know what they are because I know where we got stopped. So I think I know exactly what we need to do for next time. And then that should finally put the cap on the Autumn volume. So this one was a big old chunker, much bigger than we usually go. But I just had no idea that there was that much material remaining, or I would have tried to have rationed that out a little more. But it is what it is. We arrived where we arrived. And I hope you had a good time with it. Thanks, as always, for stopping by. I hope you have a nice rest of your whatever, wherever it is you are. And we'll catch you next time.